Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. We're going to continue with the being section of challenges from my book, Expansion Mastery. I really hope that you are finding these podcasts to be helpful in assisting you through these practices and allowing you to even possibly see more depth in them, or just even get a glimpse into just how valuable they truly are. So, in today's episode, we're going to engage the second exoteric challenge in the being section, and this is the power of words saying I love you. Now, we all understand just how powerful words can be. We know that words from someone else are capable of raising or lowering our vibration, of directly affecting our emotional state, and even our energetic chakra system. We understand that words carry vibration. We understand that words have tremendous power. They are expressed thought. They are thought brought into the realm of reality. And this is why spiritual and religious systems have things such as prayer and chants, because the immense power in the vibration of our words is very well understood. It has been my experience, as well as my observation, that the most powerful words that we have as human beings are three words: I love you. These three words carry the highest of vibration, and they can open another's heart better than any other words. I teach a lot about the power of appreciation, and if we look at appreciation and we say thank you, we tell someone, I really appreciate that you did that, it carries a lot of weight. It opens their heart, raises their vibration, makes them feel good. But even appreciation is not as powerful as love. I mean, think about it. How does it feel when somebody tells you, thank you, I really appreciate you? And now compare that to when somebody tells you in all heartfelt honesty, I love you. It's a little different, isn't it? So the power of appreciation is incredibly immense. It's very powerful. But the power of love is even more powerful. When our vibrational frequency is at the frequency of love, that is the highest frequency of vibration for a being, whether we are in human form or not. It is absolute love that is the highest vibrational frequency in the universe. Obviously, the challenge in my book is to be more open with telling people that you love them, to express that feeling of love more often than we tend to do. However, there's a catch here that is not in my book. The catch is this: we can't become mindless when we say it. We can't just say it to say it because we think it's the right thing to do, because we're learning the power of that, because then those words become empty. When we say, I love you, they must be heartfelt. They must be mindful. Without the emotional content, I love you becomes nothing more than empty words. See how this works? They can be the most powerful words that you utter, or they can be the weakest and most empty words that you utter. And believe me, people will be able to tell the difference. They will know, and so will you. So the trick is to be able to express your love more openly and more often without overdoing it and making it just something you're saying all the time so that it becomes habitual and mindless. This ensures that we maintain the power in the words, I love you. Now, I fully realize that for some of us, telling someone else that you love them can be difficult. It can be very difficult to express that feeling. I know when I was younger, I had a very, very hard time saying this. There were times when I surely felt it, but something held me back. Something was happening that didn't allow me to say it. And what I discovered as a young adult was that it was my ego. My ego made it very uncomfortable for me to tell someone I love them because it made me feel so vulnerable. And the ego doesn't like to feel vulnerable. And I can recall in my younger years so many instances where I regretted not telling someone that. After developing mindfulness and going through all of the spiritual training that I did, I became free of those chains that held me back from expressing my love. I do my best to let my wife know that I love her. I try every day, either in a text while she's at work, a note in her lunch, or face-to-face when we're together. Because I want her to know, more than anyone else on this planet, how much I love her. And I want her to be able to feel that. The honesty of it. The vibration of it. I want her to know, beyond any question, not only that she is loved, but just how much she is actually loved. If you have a special romantic relationship, when was the last time you made sure that the other person knew full well the extent of your love, just how much you cherish them, how much you love them? When was the last time that you looked them right in the eyes and told them that? It's very easy to fall into the habit of assuming that people know it. It's all too easy to get caught up in our own head, and then we dismiss the opportunity to express our love with a thought that goes something like this. Well, I don't need to tell her because she knows. She knows how I feel. See, this is a cop-out. You have plenty of opportunity to tell someone how you love them. In written word, you can verbalize it, whatever, right? I do it with cards on any holiday, notes in her lunch, text messages. I tell her when we're talking on the phone. I tell her when we're in person. You have plenty of opportunity to do this. Do not make the assumption that someone else knows. Sure, they probably do. But don't you think they enjoy hearing it? See, it's a meaningful heart-to-heart connection that we establish when we express our love for someone else. It's our heart reaching out and touching their heart. That is a powerful, probably the most powerful human interaction that we have as human beings. And we should not take the power of this for granted. We should not assume that others know. I make sure and tell my daughters and my grandsons. I tell my friends. I tell the people that are important to me in my life that I love them, because I'm so fortunate to have them in my life. I want them to know how I feel about them. And you know what? I do not care at all whether they reciprocate that. I don't care. It's nice, and yes, it usually happens, but that's not what I'm after. I just want to make sure that I let them know. I want them to feel that. If they want to reciprocate that, fine. If not, that's fine too. That doesn't change that I still love them. We're all well aware of the common story of the person who has someone pass away in their life, who wishes that they had the opportunity to express their love to that person before they passed away. It's usually what it is, right? That's because that is so meaningful and so powerful. So we can't put these things off. We need to get better about expressing that. We need to understand the power of the words "I love you," and we need to use them. I see today so many people just hang up when they're done talking to someone on the phone. Sometimes they don't even say goodbye. They just hang up. And the same if they're on some form of internet connection, such as Skype. They just hang up. My wife and I talk on the phone every day when she's driving home from work. And we always say "I love you" when we hang up. Always. Even if she's pulling into the garage at the time she hangs up, we say it. Anytime that I Skype or FaceTime with my grandsons, when we're done having a Yu-Gi-Oh battle or some other epic game that we play together, I tell them I love them. Anytime that I talk with one of my daughters, I make sure I tell them that I love them. And at no time when I utter these words is it ever mindless. And you know, it's never obligatory either. Ever. If I feel it's obligatory, I don't say it. I've tried to free myself of most of societal obligation. So I don't act out of obligation. I would rather act out of authenticity. I would rather act out of love. So I never tell someone I love them out of obligation just because they said it to me. I take those words very seriously, and I invest the emotional content into those words that they should have. Because if I tell someone I love them, I want them to know beyond any shadow of a doubt that I wholeheartedly mean it. And I mean, come on, how good does it feel to know that you are loved? I think there's a jewelry company that has that as a slogan, right? Helzberg Diamonds, I think it is, that has the slogan, "You are loved." It's great marketing, and it's fitting for their product, don't you think? But it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling to know that you are loved. And that is what I am trying to share with these people that are so important to my life. Having this connection of love is one of the greatest things about being a human being. We can physically express that love. And it is only when we are in this form as a human being that we are capable of doing that. We can physically and verbally express our love. We can share our vibration this way. And it is this power of love that allows our heart to stay open, our vibration to remain high. And as we all know, life doesn't allow us to live in this state all of the time. But we can become mindful of being there whenever possible, as much as humanly possible. Because you see, this is part of our birthright as a human being. It is part of the very fabric of our humanity to love others and the desire to be loved. Whether we would like to admit it or not, as human beings, it is part of our nature to want to love and be loved. And that, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful aspects to being a human being. So the challenge in my book is fairly straightforward and pretty simple. You just become more mindful about telling those people in your life who mean the most to you that you love them. You tell them more often. And when you tell them, you make sure that first you really feel it. Feel it in your chest, in your stomach. Feel it. Don't think about it. Feel it. And after you feel it, and you can just have that feeling in your body, that's the time to share it with them. Because that's when it carries the best, most powerful emotional charge. And there are no other words deserving of an intense emotional charge more than, I love you. And we can see that the challenge here is not saying the words. It's not even being mindful of saying the words. It's having the ability to actually express yourself this way. For a lot of people, that is a huge challenge. Like I said, when I was young, that was a huge challenge for me. I hardly ever said those words to anyone. It was only after going through several intense spiritual transformations that my heart opened, my vibration raised, and I was able to get past the ego enough to tell the people in my life that I loved them. And I'm going to tell you, man, did that feel good. It felt so good for me, and it must have felt good for them because they hadn't gotten to hear it before then. And they deserved to. So I'd like to share a really cool personal experience that just happened recently. And it caused me to pause and contemplate and appreciate this particular challenge in my book. So, I used to run a martial arts school, and one of my longtime students, who's also a personal friend, has teenage children. And his teenage son has been in contact with me, texting me and telling me he's reading my book, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. Really, really appreciate that. And he's following along with the podcast, with the challenges. So, yes, he's going to hear this. So, don't worry, I'm not going to say any names. But I was sitting on the couch one evening, and we were going back and forth through text messages, talking about different things with spirituality, as well as we were talking about balancing knives and swords. And at the end of this conversation, the young man said, all right, I got to go to bed. I got school in the morning. I said, all right, awesome. Have a good night. Talk to you later. Always a very nice conversation with this young man. And then a few minutes later, I had actually gotten up and I was in the kitchen, and my wife said, you got to read this text. So I came back, and this young man expressed that it was difficult for him, yet he had wanted to tell me that he loved me. So I answered back, letting him know that Amy and I both love him as well, and we do. He and his family are practically family as far as we're concerned. And at first, after I answered that text, I sat back and I was like, wow, that was so nice. That was so kind of this young man to do that. And how nice it felt. And I felt so appreciative. But then I started to think about it. And that appreciation also turned to admiration for this young man. Because as I expressed out loud to my wife, I said, wow, at his age, I was not capable of doing what he just did. And I was so impressed that he acknowledged that it was a little uncomfortable, but he overcame that discomfort in order to express himself that way, to say the words, I love you. And I was like, wow, I wish I could have been able to do that when I was his age. That would have made a big difference in a lot of lives. So it was incredible. So here I sat back and I was like, wow, look at how powerful these words really are. I mean, first I get filled with appreciation and love and then admiration, and just from 3 little words that carry a lot of emotional charge. It's the same thing with my grandsons, right? I always tell them I love them, and they tell me that they love me too, even though I have one that's almost 13, and he still says it back to me. Now, I know the day is probably coming when it will be uncomfortable for him to say it, and that's just fine because I'm still going to say it. And hopefully he'll be able to continue saying that, and he won't have to struggle with this sort of thing as I did. But even now, as I'm recording this podcast episode, I cannot help but sit back and reflect. Yes, I just turned the mic off for a minute and sat back and reflected as to just how fortunate I am to have incredible people in my life that love me, and how fortunate I am to have people to love. This is the power of the human experience. This is the absolute epitome of our humanity. Life is so much more amazing when it's filled with love. And in case you haven't heard the words lately, please allow me to tell you that I love you, and I appreciate you, and I wish you nothing less than the very best in all you do in life. And if all this love talk was uncomfortable for you, well, I know where you're coming from. I was there. I can sympathize. But I encourage you to not downplay this, to embrace it, to take it to heart, and to try to step outside of your comfort zone and expand into this sense of love. Look at the impact that it has on others. Pay attention to the impact that it has on you. And you will quickly see the immense value of this particular practice and why I included it as a challenge in my book. Please visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. You can get your autographed copy of Expansion Mastery there. Of course, you can go on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any other bookseller. I think they're even selling them on eBay. So you can get my books just about anywhere that sells books, and autographed copies are only available on the website, so grab that. And make sure that you help us out by sharing these podcasts and subscribing on our YouTube channel and doing all the positive stuff that you can do on social media, the sharing, the likes, the comments, all those things. Everything helps, and getting this information out into the hands of the people so they can start to experience authentic spirituality is extremely important, more so now than ever, and I need your help to do that. Until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your practices and your life. Take care.